if you see that shape, you're looking at, see the blue sky. The blue sky is the shape that you're going for, as much as any other shape in here. So look, what have we got? We've got something like that, like that, like that, up there, like that, there, and there. See that shape there? That's as important as all of this stuff down here. So you're not drawing individual buildings. I mean, you might go in and start to sort of put in little details, you know, around here to improve on your drawing. But it's not the be all and end all of your painting, the details. So now we can start putting in parts to support all the different sort of areas that we're going to treat, that we're going to block in. That can come up higher, up there like that, and then we've got that chimney stack there. And then we've got that down there. We've got the horizon, which is down here. I call it the horizon really, because that's the kind of one sort of lateral piece of that goes all the way, almost all the way across the painting there. Okay, and then we've got cars here, but you, once again, don't sort of worry about making them look like cars. They'll be just dabs, really. And here's the front, the portico of the church there. And then we've got this, I could bring that over a little bit. And then we have the Georgian buildings here. And the trees, or the tree, I suppose. Okay, so there we go. That's as much as I need at the moment. I might just sort of mark in how that works. Things will change, because they always do. So I think I might push that up a little bit. Push that up a little bit there. And then that part is all in shade. So I'm going to do a bit of a Notan now, okay? So I'm going to grab some blue and some burnt sienna. Just to dilute it down a little bit, not too much. So imagine if you were standing out there with your easel and all your equipment. This is a much more accessible way to paint than, you know, drawing every architectural detail like Canaletto might have done. That's all one sort of one tone along there, like that. But we're reducing it down to as few areas of shade as possible. And then we've got that. See that lit area? That's another negative space. Okay, so that's there. And then, of course, there's the tree. Make it a bit more random than it is, a bit more abstract. And then we've got the shadow in the portico. That goes up there. So this is the Notan. Up there like that. And I'll show you something in a second. That can also be as a shade, because that's almost as dark as the tree if you squint. So we've got all those areas. So that's the simplest thing. All those sort of windows up there, they'll be put on kind of towards the end, I think. All right. Another thing that you can do is to use your rag just to correct the Notan. So, for example, that there's a light coming down here like that. That can all go darker there. And I can wipe back that part there. That's light. That's light there. And that's light on that side. I can put in some darker areas just to define the thing a little bit more along there like that. That steps in like that. Steps in. And I think I can sort of put my brush into the rag there like that. Mark it down there. And then put that dark in there as the side of the building. So you get kind of a shaded version of what you're going to paint, just in light shades. Makes it much easier to paint, I think. Takes away some of the stress. And then that comes there like that, because the portico is quite narrow there, that part of the portico. And that means I need to just wipe that back. There. Okay, so I'm going to start putting in some darks. Just they're marker points so that I know where I am on the painting. So for example, here, they're strong enough to be useful to put in at this stage. I'm going to define where the car is for a start, because the car's going to go into, but that's just a dark there. And this car here coming off there. And then we've got that chimney stack there. I'm painting very thinly at the moment. The paint is not quite neat, but it's nearly neat, but I'm applying it very thinly because I know I'll be painting over it in a different hue. Then that can go up there like that, up the side of the building. And then there's all the darks under the tree. Let's grab a bit of blue and some burnt sienna again. So that's kind of dark down there. Up there, comes out into there. And then there are some little darks along there. I just want to be able to define that church building, because these Georgian buildings, they're nicely rectangular. There's no fanciness, no fancy sort of bits added to them like the Victorian ones, I suppose. Everything got very fancy in the Victorian era, as they were able to produce, they were able to sort of mass produce things, weren't they, by the Victorian era? So mass produced shaped bricks and things, which Georgians didn't have. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'll just do some blocking in now. And I'll start out with the red, the Georgian buildings. So let's make up a nice Georgian brick colour. So the yellow plus permanent rose. And of course, the usual thing. This is an impressionist style of painting, so it's to amp up the colours, the temperature, that kind of thing. Make Dublin look like like Delft. Okay, so we've got that down there. Here as well, that it's essentially a red. Okay, going all the way across to the columns. I think you should leave some room for artistry. You know, don't feel you have to be completely accurate as far as colour is concerned. I'm going to do some of the church now. So yellow plus white and a bit of red. Okay, so let's do those lit areas. There. So at least we'll know where they are. There. In fact, there's a bit little, I don't know what they're called, pediments or something coming out from the portico. There, like that. And all this is just one colour. Now let's do the shadow of that. So it's not as dark as the shadows elsewhere, but let's try a darker version of that light yellowish colour. So for example here, there's still a lot of light. It's probably reflecting the buildings around it actually. And in here it's a bit like that there. Up there. There. And then we've got the nice green cupola. So yellow and blue plus white. So it's very pale in the reference, but it doesn't have to be that pale. And it's just a stroke at the moment. So let's put some shadow in those Georgian buildings. So blue, and red, and a bit of yellow. Slightly purplish, to be honest. Let's have a look. So a bit of white there. Bit bluer than that. Okay. All those windows will be put into this afterwards, and the doorways and things like that. So along there like that. And this, a lot of it is it's kind of dark as well. Actually, do you know what? I don't think I'll do that too much now. Now, let's get the sky in. So there are some clouds, some white and some blue. Just dilute it down a little bit. And I'll put in some sky and then leave some space for clouds at the horizon, up over here. In there, because it's nice to contrast with that russet colour there. Up around there. Okay. And then I'll do the tree. Let's get some blue and yellow. Need a bit more yellow, that's kind of a little bit skinny. And remember, it's got to be natural, so a little bit of red into the green. Okay. And that's just a big splodge, really. Just mass it in. There's a tree there, isn't there? Yeah, I can go up there like that. Okay. The road. The road is a dark purple, I think. It looked nice as a dark purple. So red and blue, a little touch of yellow into it. Just tamp it, or knock it back with a little bit of solvent to a little bit of white into it too. Kind of a plum colour there. Okay, we can sort of mass that in as well. I just want to leave myself a little bit of space for sunlight that's actually coming down Mount Street there, along the back of Merrion Square. That can go along there like that. That's good. Okay. Yes, so let's do that lit part of the road. That's a bright kind of orangey green. Well, green really, isn't it? It's with a bit of red into it. Okay, it can always be adjusted later. That can go along there like that. It goes up to the church. What a splendid place to build a church. Really nicely planned. Now let's grab some orangey bits for some of the clouds. We can build into those later. There. That's good. Now, let's get back to that purpley colour. Shadows, trying to make them cool colours, I suppose. Then that'll provide the contrast. It'll make the church look like it's actually being lit up by sunlight. There, down there like that. And be up in here as well. Definitely up around here. That can be kind of a bit purplised. There. Okay, some of that can also come across into here. That looked nice against that red as well. Right. Let's put in some detailing in that tree. Just add some white into that green. A bit more red as well. We can put some strokes in the tree. There's a bit of grey across the roofs opposite us. Hang on, let me see. Let's probably go up a little bit further. Up there. And there's some stuff up there. Not sure what it is, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't need to be too specific. In fact, it's best not to be specific. Let's get a bit of that car in. Get a bit of blue. It's a blue taxi by the look of it. Grab some blue. Touch of red into it. That was along there, wasn't it? So there. Don't start drawing car shapes. It's not necessary, and it'll lead you down the wrong path. It's just little bits of dabs. Now, I'm going to make the road in shadow a little bit more bluey. A bit too plum coloured there before, I think. But I'll leave some of that plum colour coming through anyway. So that shadowed road goes all the way up to there. Right, let's get some of that purple. And then we've got a bit of shadow in there. That window there. Push that window over a little bit. I'm just putting those in so that I remember where I am. Otherwise I might lose my way. And there's some darks down here as well. Definitely in there. You know, there are doors and windows, but just put in dabs. You're just expressing that they're there. You're not actually painting the particular doors and windows. It's just an impression.
How are you doing? Before we get back to the brushes, a quick reminder, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and drop a comment. I love hearing what you're working on. It keeps the community growing and helps others find these video lessons too. If you'd like some extra resources, check out the links just below. I've got ebooks that take you step by step through oil painting, merchandise like t-shirts and aprons, perfect for keeping the paint where it belongs, and prints of my own work. And you'll even find original oil paintings if you'd like a unique piece for your wall. Every bit of support makes it possible for me to share these tutorials for free, and I can't thank you enough. Okay, let's get back to the demo.
Okay, so I'm going to mix some white into that light for the church. I presume it's limestone, is it? Imagine if another thing I don't know much about. Going to shape this a little bit, put a bit more light onto the stonework. Up around there. Just dabs where you see them. That down there needs to have a light coming down. And here. Just restate those. There. And on that edge there. Now, those inner columns, I tried painting. I stood outside the St Anne's. Is it St Anne's in Rathmines? Painting at one time, and I became absolutely confused by the columns. It's almost like that. What do they call it? There's an optical illusion where you can't tell whether you're looking through the columns or at the columns. And my painting was turning out like that. Starting to get very frustrated. So let's put a bit of a roof on that. And then we need some light on the green of that roof, that cupola. There. And then a dark. We'll use that purple to just to delineate this architectural feature here. Okay, back to the sky. The sky lightens towards the horizon, so I'm just going to make sure I brighten the sky down here. And that means I can shape this portico here, or whatever you call it. Okay. Up there like that. Up there like that. Now I might up here have the cloud coming up against this, I don't know what, it's not spire, is it, whatever, the cupola part of the church, because that's green and it would be better against, rather than being against blue, but against a kind of a warmish cloud. Okay, and then that can go in there. That, however, can be blue sky. Put it up against the top of that church there. Okay. Now, let me make sure I've got a nice warm mix there. That's a bit cold there, so put that there. That there, that part is quite warm as it comes down to the edge. And there's a nice warm reflection coming off this part here. A great example of this kind of painting, I'm not sort of saying that this is anywhere near as good, is the Chartres Cathedral, painted many times by Monet at different times of the day. I think it's a absolutely wonderful use of paint. Well worth studying. I can come down there. Come down there like that. I might push that up. There. Right, to those clouds. Let me grab some yellowy orange. And I can start putting in some clouds there like that. Don't over-describe them, I think. Plenty of paint. Go there like that. I need to do that tree again. So blue plus yellow. I think I'll put a bit of burnt sienna into it. And then to do these areas down here, that's all dark. It comes up here. There's a few cars there, but do I need to put them in? I'll decide later. Make it sort of abstract-y. Up there like that. All right. Now there are some light. That part of the car is reflecting the sky. It's almost exactly the sky color here on that car. There. And same here. So all I've done is taken the blue sky mix and put it on there. Cars are very shiny and they just reflect very strongly what's above them. Just going to make some darks. A dark to put underneath, well, for the wheel of that car, put some dark underneath it. Dark there, and a dark running along the pavement. There we go, there like that. I can put some darks along here as well. That doesn't always need to be exact. Now, there is some stuff, chimney stacks actually coming up here, so there they are. And not sure what that is, but I'll stick it in there anyway. And that roof could be said to be reflecting the sky too. But probably not in a more dull, darker way than the shiny car would. So there. And then that chimney stack is not catching the light on that side. There's a nice light. I don't know what it is. I think it is a feature of the church coming down here like that. Okay, so let's see if I can sort of put in a couple of architectural details up there like that. Maybe a purpley colour, that would be nice, wouldn't it? So cobalt blue, permanent rose, and a bit of white. There, what else? There's going to have to be a light coming up from there as well. That's go along there like that. Push that up. Push that over a little bit. Push that over a bit as well. And here, make that lighter. It's kind of cool as it comes away from the light here. Across there like that. And then that warms up on that side. Coming up to that part there, there's a bit of a shadow there. Shadow coming along there like that, or a darker stone, probably. There's a little bit of warmth coming across there. Probably been reflected up from something. So it's the usual thing. Now that I've got the blocks, I can start putting all the details into the blocks. I just want to push that You're in command of this. You know, you painted the colours that you want to paint. Don't get forced down the road of copying the reference, or indeed if you're standing there. Okay, so down here, that can be nicely shadowed as well with a kind of a purpley, a light violet-y maybe shadow. So paint it into that shadow. Around here like that. Even down here. Nice shadows. Push that along a little bit actually. Not sure what that's causing the shadows there. Is it the trees in Merrion Square? And even in the road. Put a little bit more blue into that. Along here. Okay. Now, there is a kind of a warmish light grey in the basements, maybe a little lighter than that. Here, so it's just a dab, or a stroke, I should say. So there's a car there. Now, back into the church, the architectural details. I got waylaid there for a second, so I think I possibly need a smaller brush. Now, I got my number 0. That, and then there's this one here coming down there like that. There's a little 1D there. Something in there, not sure what it is, but it's got to go in. There, coming down there. Let's do something with that lit, warm part of the road. Here, so that comes up to the steps of the church, really. There. Along there like that. Great. Now, some other tones in the stonework. It comes down onto the roof part there. There's a nice bit of a dark bit of roof there. And restate those windows now, so blue and burnt sienna for darks there, and this big, I don't know, it could be a door even, couldn't it, there. And then there's some surrounding details, sort of there, for example. There. Details giving the illusion of function, I suppose, is what I'm after. There's a nice dark running down there. Push that down there like that. There's another shadow here. Oh, there's some light catching those chimney stacks here. Don't be too specific. A nice dark under there. Start to build up the details in the church there. So there's a dark there. Dark under there. Bit of a pokey out thing there. There's a slightly darker, no, but just feature there in the church. Right, let's do some more with the clouds. Got a yellowish. Some dabs there. The light's catching those clouds on the left-hand side. The sun's coming from the left there. And here too, same thing's happening. Give me an opportunity to shape that cupola. In fact, I might push that in a wee bit. I can always push it out again afterwards if I don't get it quite right. A bit more orangey parts in the clouds. Just add a bit of red into that mix. Shape those trees a little with the clouds, or with the shapes that are next to it. Maybe add even a little bit more red down here. As usual, bouncing around the painting, bringing it all together in as close to one go as possible. And shape that those Georgian buildings. Now, I'll mix up some more sky colour. So white, bit of room there, bit of white and a bit of blue, and a little bit of solvent just to lengthen the paint a little bit. We'll use this as an opportunity to adjust the shapes of the buildings. Complete that bit. Push that together. Up here. There. shape this a bit. I'll put in a few chimneys there in a while. Adjust the clouds to taste. Okay. Now, I need to do a few more strokes around here. There's a bit of light getting into there. Yes, there's that little bit of light catching a column up towards the cupola there. That one there. There. Now, I need to just adjust the this column here, or the side of the building. It's kind of slightly on the cant, so make that more obviously straight. I went to see an excellent fiddler called Kevin Burke in that church. Concert in there. Oh God, it was great. He used to be in the Bothy band, if you remember them. Let's put a bit of shape around those windows and doors. Oh, shaky hand. Steady my hand. Put that there like that, and then there's nice bright coming down there, although it's not. Load the brush up a little bit more. Make sure there's plenty of paint on the brush. And get that in there. And I think it'd be nice to have some more cool blue. I'm just going to add some blue into that purpley mix I have, and change that a little bit. And even up here, blue looks nice as a shadow. And up here, look, if you were standing out there in the street painting this, you would be you couldn't get into the kind of detail that that your brain is telling you to try and achieve. You can't do it. So paint it, get it done, and move on to the next one. Go there. Now there's a nice bright down there. Let me get that. Make sure it's warm. But stone, and it's like anything. In the brights, there's all sorts of colours. So it doesn't matter if you have to make up a new mix and it's not the same as the old mix, because you have to give the impression that it's catching all sorts of light anyway. So I need to steady my hand, come down there like that, all the way down. So the paint can get quite thick. Alla Monet. There's a nice light there. Don't know what it is, but I'm putting it in anyway. That can actually be more substantial. So just come across there like that. There's lights reflecting on those capitals. So I did know something about architecture. That I think I might actually put a little bit of blue down there, in there, just to help the eye see it as a give it some depth. There, and then we need to put a little bit of shade in there. This will give it hopefully, its three-dimensionality there, like that. Oh, it's the light, isn't it? I go along there like that. Push that up there. And again, I want to do something with this here. That's lighter. Don't worry about getting into too much detail. This here is light, and then it comes down there like that. And that's all light coming down there like that. To that wall, that can come down. That can be lighter there. Detail in there. Now there are some windows reflecting reflecting the sky. So I'm going to start putting in some details of those. So there. Don't worry too much about the accuracy. There's a door there. Put that in. The kind of half those sash windows are reflecting the sky. The other half, they're possibly open, but I don't think they are. It's just the way the light is reflecting. Now, there's a nice light blue here. Those fancy, what was it, Greek inspired columns around the doors. Put that up there like that. And we've also got the same thing going on up in this building on the right. Although it's not as they're lighter actually, so put in some little lights like that. We're not going to start doing window surrounds and things like that. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of marking them in at the moment, just, and then that can come down there like that. Now some of them are dark. There's some darks in there, so I'm going to grab some blue, some burnt sienna, and a bit of red, see what happens. So for instance, there, I'm just putting in little dabs to show that there's stuff here. People's brains will fill in the difference anyway. Now there's a nice dark in there, put that in blue and burnt sienna, there and there. And also there's some darks here, of course. There's dark there. Kind of half the sash windows. Little dark things going on down here. Not sure what they are, but they're just dabs anyway. And maybe I'll just put in a few intimations that there's architectural features here. Definitely don't overdo that. Then there's a kind of a window in there, and then we've got a nice. It's obviously white, but it's in shadow, so probably kind of bluish. Bit in there. Now, there are some other light parts on the road. To make sure they're lovely and warm. So I've made a nice manila colour here. So leading up to that car, there's light there. Oh, there's some shadow in around the basement. So just give it a few dabs. That can go up there like that. You can see the shadows of some of the leaves. It's nice to have them in, I think. Just a few, just to show that you saw them and that they were there. There's a dark in that car window which I didn't put in yet. There. And just shape this a little bit so there's the car there. There's that similar warm, it's actually redder. Here. Okay, let's close that up. And maybe I can put in a little bit of a violet-y colour in the road as well, because it's another cool colour. Push up against that part there. Any other darks to go in? I suppose let's make some darks. Do some stuff here because there's things all along the road. We don't necessarily know what they are. They're most likely cars. Let's put in a few lights as well then. Light there. It's not necessary to be specific there, I don't think. Let's get a bit of that colour and shape that roof. We'll do a bit of work on the tree. Let's get a few reds, orangey kind of reds into the tree. It kind of gives the painting a cohesive look, to have some of the same colours occurring everywhere in the painting. And even some lights. I might even put in some of a kind of a reddish colour in places. In the road, that's not light enough. Let's make it a little bit darker. Put a bit of blue, permanent rose and yellow together. In there. That means I can shape that little bit of light. And I might just grab some yellow, put it into that same colour. Put some detail, well, not detailing, but just a different hue. So it's not all the one hue on the bricks. It means I can shape this shadow as well. And shape those tree shadows. Let me do something with the light on the clouds as well. Now there are some lights, more lights to go. There's something up there, don't know what it is, but put it in. Just redo those columns there. And then there's now that is actually a light, a lamp, street light. But it's awkwardly placed because it runs right down that the edge of the church there. So just leave it out. There, a little bit of light, warm light getting in across there. Push that dark across there. Make sure that that's not just one great big line. push that up, just a wee bit there. And of course there's some light getting through those trees in here, so at the moment it's all big one continuous mass, but you could put in some light as it gets through to the brickwork. And then maybe we'll just sort of suggest that there are some edging down the side of that. I think I might just finish by doing something with the a bit more with the tree. Bring it out into that space a little bit more, to help with the framing. Put a little bit of light on that cupola. Right. Okay. Oh, jeepers, I nearly forgot. There are other they don't need to be. They're only incidental. Maybe we can put in a little bit of dark. Maybe push that car up a little bit there. Push that dark there, that'd be fine. And there are a few lights that I could put in. Anything else? Easy to miss something here because there's a lot in it, but most of it is actually done. And you can be quite gratuitously sort of generous with the paint in those lights if you want. It will dry eventually. might just do it just a little bit more. Sorry, to keep you from your tea. Let's grab the bit of blue and a bit more red. And just do something more with that. Smooth that out a little bit. Okay, so I've got it to a certain stage of finish, and now what I'm going to do is go on to refine it. So I'll be referring far less to the actual reference and just making it into what I want to make it. Well, we'll see. I don't even know yet what way it's going to turn out, but that's what I'm going to do now. So keep watching. I'm going to work on the sky a little, I think. So let me get my, hold on for a second. Right, so yes, well, I'll work on the sky. So let's grab a little bit of white and blue. And I wanted to lighten it down towards the horizon a little bit. Add a little bit of yellow into that sky colour. Okay. Oh yeah, that's better. Just improve that, Ned. Don't like. Now, this far into the painting, the because it's the alkyd paints, they're already starting to set. And one happy thing about that, I suppose, is it does prevent the painting turning into mud. There, like that. And I want to do more up there. I need a bit more paint. Okay. Up here. And even, I want to put in sort of a little bit of, we're seeing through the trees into at the sky. Because sunlight is getting through those branches. It's not a great big solid block. There, like that. Around that. Which means I can sort of get back into my clouds a bit. take a painting so far using the reference, and then as long as you don't make changes too radical, you won't make mud. Somebody was asking me about that last night. So. Putting a bit of a cloud in there too. Play around with the clouds until I think that they look the way I want them to be. I'm not too worried about having the actual clouds, because if you were actually painting outdoors, the clouds would be scudding along, all changing all the time. So you're better off sort of inventing clouds. It is, after all, a painting, not a photograph. Put some bright sunlit parts on the edges of those clouds there, like that. Let's go back in with that. The sky. At this stage you get into the contemplative side of painting, where all the main work is done. It's just refinement. Refine that there. Now, back into the Georgian buildings. I think I'll lighten up the brickwork a touch. Fine, and it gets lighter and brighter up here because we get to the top and then the sun sunlight is hitting the brickwork. So now I've got a patchwork of dabs. See what a little bit of pink might look like in there as well. So even sort of grey, bits of grey in there wouldn't be too very light grey. Same tone, but slightly different, different mixes, different hues. Flat colours. If you've got an area of flat colour, I always like to make the flat colour made up of dabs, smaller and smaller dabs, that when they only look like a flat colour when you pull away from them and look at them from a more of a distance. And it can even be lighter down around here. Some nice little bits of dappled sunshine. Okay, and then the same with the buildings down here. But I suppose less detail. They are, of course, further away, so you wouldn't be looking at too much detail. When I've done that, I'll go back into that tree a bit. Make a green. The usual blue and yellow to make the green and red to make it look natural. Some little random strokes in here. Make a darker version. Put a little bit of burnt sienna into the mix. Make that a little bit more intensely dark. Bring that out a little bit into those buildings, obscure them a little. Make more of these branches. Okay, and I might do something with the shadow being cast onto the Georgian building there. Just a push that out a little bit. Lovely dapples on the brickwork. In that case, I might push that out a little bit further as well. That's okay there. Some chimneys. Up there. Do a bit more with the clouds. Bring them through the trees, so get similar strokes as the clouds that we're looking through the trees. Make all your dabs discrete, you know, sort of in the sense that you can see each dab. You're not going to start blending them. Make all your brushwork obvious in a painting like this. I'm going to mix some of the blue into that, a bit of white. Make the sky change as it comes towards the horizon. Okay, let's get back into the I must do something actually in here, make that bit more obvious there. Lovely portico here too. windows in. Don't have to be overly specific here, but that does need a window in there, in amongst all those shadows of the dappled brickwork. We want one there. There's got to be one there too. Yeah, that's a bit better. And some little dabs of details. Not being too specific, because it's just got to read as a Georgian building. Right, around those cars, I'm going to just, need a dark, there, down there like that, down there like that, and underneath the car is this darkness. Same here. Then we've got sky being reflected in the window. And the same thing with the dark underneath. Underneath the car there. Okay. Back to the road. All that's fine there, I think. That's good. That'll suit there, although it does need a kind of a grey down there. And then we can meet that up to there. There is a reflection of something warm there on that car, and maybe across the top of that one too. Let's do some of that shadow on the road. Kind of purpley blue, put a bit of yellow into it. See what I can get here. That's all shadow there. Indistinct. I'm doing all this, and then I'll go back into that church. So this is all shadows of an opposite building, I think. If memory serves me correctly, so there's buildings to our left. And also I think I'll put some of that purpley colour into here too. Into that shadow. Dabs of it. You see, you don't need actual sort of architectural details. You just need to kind of half describe things, and the viewer's brain does the rest. Okay, right into the church with us. Right. Light getting in there somehow. But then there's that purple. I just want to check this out. So like that. Wonder what a little bit of cool green would do. Let's have a look. Let me get some blue, cobalt blue, and cadmium yellow, and a little bit of white. Put that in there. Down there like that. What about it here, actually, in the cool areas of the shadow? Okay, back into the church. Those are more darker, more intense there. And I need more of that purpley shadow. Maybe bluer than I have it there. Along there, definitely in there. Down there like that. Might need to change my brush soon. And then maybe there. I might just go down to my smallest brush now. push those walls out a little bit, straighten them up. Push that up. You see where I have some really light areas. Try and make this church really stand out like a bright, resplendent object in the landscape, which I suppose that's the way it was designed. Really, it's quite a lot of painting some of these dabs. What I'll do at the end is I'll show you some close-ups and be at the very end of the video. And in here, that's very light too. And we've got this part here. We'll be going back and forth between the sky and the block work, just modelling. It'll be a while before I could scan this, I can tell you. That's very bright in there. Okay, and then just that green cupola. Just going to darken that down a little bit on that side. Make it more obviously round. And then there's a little bit of light catching the top of this as well. And I need to get a dark down here. Any other darks? There's a dark thing there, I'm not sure what it is. Can't really see it. There's the fence, but I mean, you can't really see that. I might just do some little verticals there. And some reds. Let's have a look at what I can do in that tree with reds. It'll just give the painting a bit of balance, I think. Now, back to the sky again. Let me grab a bit of white, permanent rose and blue. And I'm just I'm modelling the building really is why I wanted to go back to the sky. That's not. And I need to model that in a little bit. Once again, I've made it a slightly different blue. I've made it a kind of a redder blue. Just putting that in little dabs. Sitting over a greenish blue. Now, I didn't intend that at the beginning, but I've just changed my mind. And it won't go to mud. One, because the painting is slightly set anyway. And two, because it's even though it's a slightly different form of blue, it's not too different. It's still a blue, so it should be all right. And it'll make the sky more interesting. Let me grab some more bit of blue and put that into there. But Monet's paintings were laden with paint. I suppose there are other artists who use much more paint and everything, but Monet levels of paint are good for me. They seem to be about optimum. I do want to put a darker warm in here. Maybe coming down here as well. I'm not going to labour it because I think that's enough. Let's do a bit more along here. And I think we're coming to the very end. Let me just get a bit of a dark. Just come down here a bit. Okay. I keep seeing things that I want to touch up, but and even here now. It's unusual the way that goes from a cool to warm. Quite striking. I'm not sure what was happening there to make it like that. I'll have to go back and, when I'm passing by, take a look again. Okay, now, here we go. This is the bit that I like. Taking off the masking tape. You do this with when you're working oils on paper or acrylics on paper. You don't have to do that on we don't have to do it anyway, but I like to do it because it kind of almost makes the painting seem as if it's framed. I used to do that with my illustrations for the newspapers, even though it absolutely had no bearing on the way it was going to be reproduced. I just like doing it for myself. There. Okay. That's the painting there. So what follows now next is just some close-ups, and you'll see those in a moment. First of all, I'll hold it up here so that you can see it on this camera. See, I've got all the microphone and the camera's in the way. Let me turn that, get that in there. Like that. You can't see it all. You'll see it in a minute. There we go. So, thank you once again for coming along. And do hit the like, please. It really does help people find me and my demonstrations. What else? Yeah, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And share this. What are the other things that you can do? No matter, you can see it all. But listen, thank you for coming, and I'll see you soon for the next one. Bye.